there was a lot of effort from some individuals to create community networks in the 1980s and 1990s, and it never really caught on, except maybe Santa Monica. And then Nextdoor came along, and it's sort of the parody of community networks. Anyway, what I wanted to say was that, A, there are plenty of good, healthy communities out there, but they're sort of like raisins embedded in a very scary loaf of bread, in that there's a lot of ugly stuff out there as well. And then I think the major complicating factor is Facebook. So many people think that Facebook groups are how you do community. You know, the word for that is enclosure. They are trying to convince people that they are the web and they are the social operating system. So one of the things that I'm promoting about the pandemic situation is, since so many people are forced to use online media, both professionally and socially, can we take this opportunity to build out green space? Because I don't think we're going to be able to do away with Facebook's enclosure, but you know, you can start a subreddit, you can use discourse. There's lots of communities on Twitter. So to encourage people to do that, I don't know what to do about all the bad stuff, but I think that we can encourage people to use the opportunity to start some healthy online communities. People are so distracted and have so many claims on their attention. You have to have a really strong center of gravity. Hey, if you're diagnosed with cancer, suddenly you have a very strong motivation to join a cancer support group. But otherwise, everybody is overwhelmed. You need to have a center of gravity that's strong enough to attract people and keep them there. And you got to set it up right. You need to have rules of behavior that people will agree to before they join, and you need to specify how they'll be enforced. And you need to give everyone a second chance and nobody a third chance under those rules. In my experience, the number of people you lose because they perceive that you are censoring them is dwarfed by the number of people who won't participate because they're afraid to stick their head up because somebody's going to shoot something nasty at it. Certainly there are a lot of really healthy Facebook groups and a lot of really unhealthy ones. One of the problems is just the user interface for groups. I actually went to Facebook and talked to their social scientists a couple of years ago and complained about this, and nothing has been done about it. There must be a business reason for it. But you know, if you got to, you post something and people comment on it, the next post that is commented on goes to the top. So, and there's no way of keeping track of them. So if you got 500 people in your group, 3 minutes later, your post is buried. This is a problem that was solved by BBSs and conferencing systems decades ago. The system should keep track of what you've read and show you only what's new and only what you want to read, and they don't do that. A lot of it depends on the platform, of course. In Facebook, it's all about collecting information about you and your friends. I mean, a big difference now is that since the surveillance capitalism economy has existed, there are all kinds of ways of finding out information about individuals, and interestingly, with Mark and Node Excel, there's now all ways of looking at who's talking to who and in what kind of relationships. So it's really a different world now, that we've got all of these ways of measuring what people are doing, and you know, some of it is used to make profit off your privacy, and some of it is used to make sense of what's going on. I'm an extremist. I think that Facebook is a scourge, and I think it should be broken up. I think it's a classic restraint of trade monopoly in that anytime something comes up that might threaten their monopoly, they buy it. So I think it should be broken up.
You think that
I wish it went away. Part of that is the change in the atmosphere, in that for a long time, social media and Silicon Valley and new technologies were quite rightfully seen as engines of economic growth that brought all kinds of wonderful capacities to individuals. It took a while for us to see, and this is true of many, many technologies, it took a while for us to understand the price that we were paying. And also the surveillance capitalism part of it is just, once that hooked into capital, it just overwhelmed everything else. You know, Mark was talking about social accounting systems. Of course, before we had formal accounting systems, offline and online, we had social capital. People kept the accountings in their head. Oh, okay, that person does favors. If they want a favor, I'll do it for them. And that worked really well in, you know, rural Italy, where if you broke your leg, your neighbor would help bring in the crops. And it's one of the things that originally excited me and still excites me, in which I taught my students, you can do it online. If you find the right group and you are a good citizen in that group, then that group will help you get things done. Is exacerbated by the lack of widespread understanding of how to use the media, how to navigate so that your experience is what you want it to be, and you're not buffeted by others, and also the ability to determine what information is valid. It's pretty clear that it's not a majority of the people online understand how to use it, and that makes them vulnerable to people who want to manipulate them, but also to chaos, because they're not imposing order themselves.